All right, so here we are. It's playoff time.
Playoff time. Well,
Playoffs. You got to splice
welcome.
in. You got to splice in.
Oh man, splicing in videos is a pain in the dick.
It's worth it. It was one of the great quotes of all time. All right.
We'll see what we could do.
Jimmy Mora notwithstanding, right? What do we got? We've got action.
We got it. Let's cue the music.
And in the losers bracket,
go.
we actually have action.
Action. Well, you know what? It's Thursday as we film now, the 16th, 15th. Tomorrow, the 16th, bowl season kicks off. So,
Super exciting.
You know, that's always exciting to bet on college games. But don't forget, guys, this is a good reminder. For those of you who play and don't play, weekly money is still awarded every week. And also, we have a Thursday game. We have 3 Saturday games. Saturday games are back in the NFL. Happy days. Sunday games.
Video is obscenely choppy on my end, and since I'm recording this thing, I'll just apologize to everybody for the technical difficulties, and then we'll proceed.
You want to talk losers bracket real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Seat us up.
Are you seeing the website? All right, cool. Let's go. Boy, learning how technology works. This is an uphill battle for me. All right, losers bracket. So I think the one piece of intrigue, at least from my perspective, is we could go and look at the standings, but by virtue of your late season heater, I think that record-wise you could have been tied with the Trazes. So I suppose you would have been in the 4 spot, but you've like fallen 3 draft spots at a minimum by virtue of posting an enormous amount of points down the stretch. So congratulations, you have a shot at winning the whole thing, which is what this is all about. But in terms of chasing the 13th pick and giving yourself a guaranteed top 4 pick, that's what was at stake, and you've lost. So reminder that the draft order for the top 6 picks is now set based on the seeding in the jerk-off bracket, or the losers bracket, as the site labels it. Some intriguing matchups here that shouldn't be very intriguing. And I guess we'll see what we get into here. I think poor Trazes went from a playoff contender kind of like potentially midseason to just a pretty precipitous fall going in the opposite direction of you. It has looked ugly for several weeks for those guys, despite I still kind of, I guess we could dissect it, but I'm not going to spend that time. They get an opportunity to restock the roster with the 3rd pick in each round next year. But I'm certainly on Mac and Chase this week, and I don't even have to check who the Bengals are playing. I think I'm definitely on Mac and Chase this week regardless. But if you tell me that the Bengals are playing a weak defense, it's even more of a foregone conclusion. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look at the scoring for the losers bracket, Mac and Chase and Lord of the Slum finished within 5 points of each other on their season total, which is pretty crazy. Unfortunately for them, it was a little over 50 points behind me. Suck it.
Bump those tires.
But anyway, and then there's a 150-point gap towards the next group, the next trio, which is you, Craig, and the Traz boys. So to be honest, to not see Lord of the Slum or Mac and Chase kind of win that 13th pick will be a little bit of a surprise. You never know, but you got to think based on what's happened over the last few weeks that they'll kind of move through. But, I'm going to obviously pick Billy to take down the Traz boys and Mikey to take down you. And, we'll see if Danny or Craig can win the game there.
We'll look at the, the matchups a little bit later, but I think, I totally agree.
Yeah,
we've got injury problems riddling our wide receiver core. I think all of them except for 2 have an injury designation or are on IR. And, Walker comes back healthy this week and gets the 49ers, so he won't score anything tonight. And that puts us, basically it's Jalen Hurts or bust for our shitty team. So I think Lord of the Slum and Mac and Chase, I just don't, it's been hard for DJ Booga Sugar and 16 checks to post enough points to beat anybody of late, except us, which is one of the great indignities of this season of indignity in this league. I will just say manage your rosters carefully because the rebuilding process is one that requires you to, swallow a lot of pride. And in the midst of trying to swallow pride and rebuild the league, the kick in the nuts of losing to Danny and Joe, oh man, that was a real low point of the season, filled with low points for radical vertical impact simulation. But we'll see if the rebuild works or not. We sort of went all in on that, and I think that eliminates us from contention for the 13th pick. So we'll see how that proceeds. But
probably
good luck to everybody
right.
in the jerk off bracket. And so this is the purebreds. This is the thoroughbreds.
Yeah, this
what
is
you came for,
so
boys.
We got Dominic and Derek with their buys, well deserved. Nice seasons by both.
Great seasons.
Beaver Tamers by virtue of a tiebreaker over dead money. I think that head-to-head is what it ended up being. So anyway, a couple of intriguing matchups. Here's a trivia question before we get into the winner's bracket.
Oh, boy.
So over the last 4 weeks, weeks 11, 12, 13, and 14, who's the highest scoring team in the league?
Derry Sanders.
No, it's Derek, of course.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess that goes
the second highest scoring team, who's less than 14 points behind him, is me. And 3 points behind that is Dominic. So, like, in a weirdo, bizarro world, basically coming into the playoffs, you got Derek and Dom, who have been head and shoulders above the league. Dominic, especially over the last, 6 or 7 weeks, I feel like his team kind of came together.
Yep. Get that kind of mid-season
and then you got
stuff.
me, who's just like, putting it together with duct tape and chicken wire, but I'm putting crazy points on the board, which is exciting. It's always fun to see one of my top draft picks, Garrett Wilson, kind of become something, which is exciting. But anyway, I guess maybe we should. You want to just dive right in here and take a look at these two matchups? I guess that's the kind of point of what we're doing here, is to try to put our predictions on paper and say it with our chest on these two games. So, do you want to scroll down to the matchups, and we can take a deep dive. We can do a little bit of a deeper dive since we're really only looking at 2 games this week.
Yeah. Why don't we start with Joe?
Lineups should be set at this point, more or less. And I know there's stuff.
I mean, we're
going to
have taken some liberties in getting these set up, but this is what we expect these teams to look like this week. So we'll start with Bill Cosby sleepers and Hulk hands. So Andrew kind of, riddled with it. I mean, we bitch about injuries, but we acquired injured players on purpose. This poor bastard, still has a great roster. But I mean,
I was going to say that.
Riddled
not
with
to
injuries.
fillet him too much, but with all the injuries that he's dealt with, the fact that he's managed to limp across the line into the playoffs is like, that's a testament to the depth of the team and the construction of the team and Andrew's ability to kind of find somebody to fill in. So it's a pretty, it's he was a preseason favorite, right? Yep. And like, he just got hammered with the injuries, but he's still there and he's still fighting. And he's going up against Wallace, who's been hot and playing well also. So quarterback wise, no. I mean, obviously you got to lean towards Josh Allen, right? Because Kirk Cousins getting the Jets, not the greatest matchup in the world. He's been hot, right?
Is it a noon game though? As long as no one's watching it,
1 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I noon for me in the Central Time Zone. Yeah, I mean, I played him in two leagues last week, and so of course he put up Goliath numbers. But it was because it was a 1 o'clock game that only Wallace was watching in the entire universe, and so whatever, dude. Yeah, I mean, fine. Kirk Cousins is a real NFL quarterback. I'll finally acknowledge it.
Yeah, so I'm going to lean a little towards Bill Cosby sleepers there, even though Josh Allen's going to be playing in a snow globe that is Orchard Park, New York. But I don't think it's supposed to be like a severe snowstorm, or at least what the weather says right now. Is it's it's snow, but it's not like blizzard, and the wind shouldn't be too bad. So next up, running backs.
I mean,
Andrews,
all in on Green Bay. I'm trying to look and real quickly see who they play because, of course, I'm not paying attention to the season anymore.
they got the Rams, so that's
So
not
that's
the worst matchup in the world.
no. I mean, it's certainly not your father's or last year's Rams. Obviously, it's a totally mail it in team at this point. And I don't know if Aaron
And you
Donald's
got
back. I mean, that
Montgomery.
affects.
He's got the birds. So he's got to go against the Eagles, which is not that great of a matchup.
You'd rather have the Texans and the Falcons and the Raiders, if as far as defenses against your running backs, and that's just not the case for his core guys. But on the flip
side, Joe
Wallace
glad to see Wallace getting some starts for Donta Foreman there. Yeah. It's always nice to see. Glad to see my guy out there helping out Joe's team.
Giving it his all.
Somebody sweet. Kamara's got the Falcons, the aforementioned Falcons, and then you got Swift up against the Jets, which, I mean, the Jets defense is like pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh wait, am I wrong about that? Detroit has the Jets. Oh no, Kirk Cousins has the Jets.
Yeah, the Hello Kitties
Cousins
has the Jets.
Sorry, Cousins has the Colts, which is not too bad. No, I don't think that's a great matchup though. The Colts defense is, I don't know, annoying, I guess. But anyway, I mean, you got, I don't know. It's hard to get too excited about Green Bay running backs, but I guess I would maybe call the running back situation a wash at this point.
I think that's largely right. Nobody has like just a slam dunk that guy's going to go off kind of matchup, I don't think.
Yeah, I think if you look at wide receivers here, I think you kind of
lucky break to catch Tyreek when he has to go into the cold. Hopkins is maybe catching
Tyreek
balls
against the Bills. You got Hopkins dealing with the Broncos. Christian Kirk
catching balls
Cowboys, not great.
Yeah.
DK as the 49ers. I mean, those are all net negative matchups on Joe's side.
Right.
However, I think
Michael
the talent overshadows the matchup.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, I guess you can actually say that talent, but I mean, Andrew's got some talented guys, but they're not. I mean, I have no idea who's going to play quarterback for the Jets. I know who's going to play quarterback for the Colts. He can't throw. I don't know who's going to play for Baltimore, but they don't throw. So, I mean, I don't. Yeah, they're negative matchups, but I think Joe's still got guys who actually have potential to catch the ball given their situations versus Andrew's got guys, if you put them on a different team, they'd be mega stars. And instead they're just like fungible pieces of trash because of the offenses they play in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're just a bunch
but they're all, I mean, like I think Moore and Pittman in particular are liable to go off. And Robinson he's been a target regardless of who's throwing the ball of late. He's kind of supplanted Duvernay as the guy who gets more looks beyond Mandrews in that offense. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, Wallace has the only passing piece that I'd be interested in Baltimore if I had to make those decisions. He's got Andrews. Hawkinson is fine in the roulette wheel of tight ends.
I think he's at the premium end of roulette because he's gotten looks.
But Andrews hasn't done shit recently since he came back from that injury, so he's due. Maybe that's the theory.
But the Browns Hawkinson is offset to some extent by Cousins being on Wallace's.
Yeah,
Wallace's roster, right? Hawkinson can't go off unless Cousins offsets some of those points where Andrews could go crazy regardless of what Josh Allen does.
Yeah. Good point. Defensive ends, okay, fine. Defense, kind of like really Andrew's defense, a little bit bare. Yeah, I mean, they both have really good defense. It's, there's definitely a little, seems like Wallace is going to have to do some maintenance on Joe Hobbs there. He's not on the injury report, but I don't know why it predicts him from 0 points. It doesn't make any sense.
Walter Hobbs?
I don't understand.
Well, why do they call him Nate? It's Walter Hobbs, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Are you missing this? Walter Hobbs.
Walter Hobbs.
From Elf. It's Buddy the Elf's paternal father.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Damn you! This the season, eh?
Damn it. Well, I'm trying to figure out why they don't think the guy's gonna fucking play when he's not on the injury report.
Why don't we find out?
I don't know. That's
a little bit.
That's
Why don't we
Wallace's thing
find
to figure
out
So
a little more about our boy Walter Hobbs. Holy shit!
I mean,
What
I
is
would
this
say that
productful?
in this matchup, I kind of feel like the site has it pretty close to right as far as I'd say it's probably more like in a 5-point window there. But 5 to 10 points, I think, is what's going to decide this game either way.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, like, of course, like, this league works. Somebody could blow up and score 250. But I feel like both of these teams have a reasonable chance to put up
You bet.
210 to 220.
Yep.
And, I feel like once you get to the playoffs, you're kind of hoping to get towards 225, 230 to start feeling good. But the door can slam pretty quick if you get a couple of big performances by people.
Dead performances. Looking at it, I think Joe has just more guys that have reasonable upside. I think Andrew needs everybody to kind of punch their weight to have a shot, and I just don't see a ton of guys with the potential to blow up. Whereas Joe's got, guys that every once in a while throw up killer games like Hill and Metcalf and Kamara. And Mandrews. I do kind of say that he's due. He's lurking. He's due. So I'm going to take Hulk hands to advance. And while you ponder your pick, I'll just observe. I mean, like you said at the outset, how Andrew's depth, at least allowed him to limp into the playoffs. And I think both of these teams should be sort of recognized, right? There are our past two champions. They each had, championship runs over those 2 seasons that made it look like they were so thoroughly stacked that they were like, untouchable. Last year, Joe suffered injuries, I think, and, some uncertainty in guys, kind of roles and stuff like that. And Andrew ascended. But in this format, like that kind of a dominant depth, even when you have a dramatic fall off the next year, you're still kind of ahead of the tryhards. Billy Mack is sort of rebuilding a roster with some great pieces, but it didn't all come together for him this year, Dominic was sort of that team last year, which was why he ended up picking, way up at the top of the, So it's interesting that these teams that came out of the gate with really well-constructed, balanced, deep rosters have sort of been able to ride that for multiple seasons. These guys, neither one of them had the season I think that they were hoping for, but their depth allowed them to weather some kind of underperformances by big name players. Hopkins didn't play for half the year. Kamara continues to be a shell of what he was when Breeze was there and stuff. Yet there's enough there to keep them ahead of the next tier of teams that are trying to exit the rebuild mode. So I just thought that was sort of this is an interesting.
I don't think we need to beat up on. We don't need to beat up on Joe very much. He won 10 games this year.
I know. Last year was
10 games.
I know, but last year it's interesting because 2 years ago, Joe was Andrew's team. And then last year, Joe had a down year, relatively speaking. He still made the playoffs. I think he made the semifinals, maybe the final, whatever. But Andrew was clearly the team to beat, right? This year, Gabe's clearly, obviously the team to beat. But there's depth here, and a well-constructed roster can carry you for multiple years in this format because of, what an advantage you have when you have a well-constructed roster. So kudos to both of these guys, and good luck this week.
Good luck, boys. Okay. And now we're gonna pass. You need to refresh this screen because it had a bad start in there for me. I'm not going to be starting Samaje P. Ryan. Unless what's his nuts, unless Joe Mixon has showed up on the injury report and I'm not aware of it, which he hasn't.
Anything's possible.
All right.
Okay. So Darius Sanders and dead money.
So I feel like these quarterbacks are both kind of tough starts to stomach, even though you have to start them, right? You got Tua after not doing dick the last 2 weeks, and he's going to Buffalo, and it's a Saturday night game, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be snowy. And then you got Trevor Lawrence, who's going to face the Dallas Cowboys. Now they get him at home, I guess that's okay, but the Cowboys defense is pretty good. So, I don't think either one of us can expect a blowout game. Lawrence had a huge
quarterback position. I think this is probably correct.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence scored 4 total touchdowns last week.
Oh my God! On my bench, I played TB12 instead in another league, and that cost me the friggin' game. Thanks, Trevor
I think
Lawrence.
There's a reasonably high difference between the Titans defense and the Cowboys defense. So having said that,
yeah,
I feel like it's more or less a wash, this quarterback situation.
Yeah, that these projections feel exactly correct. Like either one of them could go off, but it seems more likely that they both kind of just muddle along to similar totals. So that's not likely to be the spot that decides this game. Next,
oh boy,
got a game tonight.
Got a game tonight.
Holy crap! If we set Cordell Patterson,
I have a lot of pre-Sunday action on my team.
Dude.
I mean, Glenn's either going to be sweating his dick off or just like riding high.
Easy street. Yes, he's either going to, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I got McCaffrey tonight.
Right.
I mean, you can't not like that against Seattle and just the way that he's been being used and
bad defense.
He's a savage, dude. He's so good at football.
It is unbelievable. And Miles
Sanders, who's quietly, not so quietly, been like a top 10 running back all season.
Yes. Like he's not somebody you get super excited about, but this year in particular, I mean, he's just been steady with upside. Like he's an ideal roster piece from my perspective because he's always got a role. He's not seriously challenged. They don't run it a ton, but he's always, he's on an offense that gets in the red zone a lot, and it could be him who punches it in. So, I mean, you wouldn't mistake him for a top 3 back, but I wish I had him. He's been really solid. He's been really solid when given the opportunity.
He's got the Bears this week too, which is a net positive matchup. So I got basically I have my 2 guys with net positive matchups. Glenn has 2 of his 3 have good positive matchups. You got Eckler against the Titans, and you got Pollard against the Jags. Those are both plus matchups. And you got Patterson taking on the Saints, which I guess is kind of like, I don't know, I guess neutral maybe.
I guess, normally you think the Saints and shutting down the run, but I don't really know what to make of this Saints team on either side of the ball this year. I mean, obviously their offense sucks, but I don't think the defense is as good as they usually are.
You know what? Big problem on my end of things there. I think Tyler Algier was just ruled out. So Patterson should get all the run, which is going to be that's going to be a big kind of, because since Patterson, wasn't he IR'd for a little bit? Yeah, yes, he was IR'd. Since he's come back, he's kind of been hit and miss.
Correct. And it's been a pretty, because I watched this carefully because Patterson somebody dropped him when he went on IR in another league I'm in. And so I just stashed him in my IR spot. And when he came back, he replaced a, real shitty running back with steady points. And he's getting a lot of touches. He got in the end zone every once in a while. He catches some passes. Last week was apparently the first time he didn't catch a pass since week 4, except his stint on IR. And so if he gets all the workload, it may not be a plus matchup as far as the defense, but like, what is it? I can't even remember the third guy they used there. He won't get all the touches, but he should get the ones that matter. And that would be a big boost for Glenn.
So that's a little bit problematic for me. So
yeah, it's kind of to me, that's a wash. I mean, like you have high floor, enormous ceiling guys in Eckler and McCaffrey, and I think Pollard and Sanders are very similar. At this point, Zeke is not taking touches from Pollard. I know they share them, but Pollard can be plenty productive in the number of touches he gets, kind of exactly like Sanders isn't going to get every goal line carry because Hurts will get some of them. But I think you guys are pretty similarly situated at the running back position.
Yeah. Wide receiver wise, I mean, a lot of
boom or bust with Davis.
Risky guys, I
mean, fortunately, in this league, you don't lose points for drops. So Deontay Johnson doesn't hurt you that badly because he's good for 7 drops a game. I mean, I don't get to watch Steeler games anymore because they're unwatchable. But when I listen on the radio on Sirius XM, subscribe if you want to for your hometown team's feed. So Deontay Johnson still can't catch a football. He's fine. He lives on volume, and he drops every important pass that's ever thrown at him. And I just wish he would sign a contract and go to another team and hurt that team on third downs. But whatever. Lazard, I kind of strangely like him, but is Watson playing? Because obviously they've figured out that he's a much better football player.
I mean, Lazard is a touchdown guy, so I need to get a touchdown out of Lazard. Gabriel Davis, like, he could have a goose egg if it's snowy enough and something weird happens and the Bills get out to a lead, and Deontay, fucking guy, hasn't scored a touchdown all year. 0.
He's probably dropped.
I think he's going to set an NFL record for number of targets without a score, or maybe
number of targets and number of drops. I hate that guy. He sucks. All right, Garrett Wilson, beautiful man, beautiful that Drake London has shown that he's an elite talent, and then he's got like terrible quarterback play. And
all aboard that Desmond Ridder train.
I know it, but it's nice that down the stretch you've gotten one of those 2 high draft pick wide receivers to really, really pan out. I got to admit, I thought it'd be Drake London, but that's a very nice element for the future.
I mean, it could be
surging well this week.
I don't hate Desmond Ridder, I suppose, but I guess we'll find out on Sunday, right? So,
no, I mean, I'm excited to see what the Kid can do. And I mean, that team is, well, I mean, their division is so bad. I think you could be 0-for and still in the playoff hunt in the NFC South. So speaking of the NFC South, there's Mike Evans doing nothing for the better part of a month and a half. What the fuck is going on with him?
Because I got Mike Evans in another league.
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate question of like, hey, does Glenn have anybody who he might entertain throwing out there?
I'm entertaining benching his ass in the fucking losers bracket where we have him on our roster. That guy has just disappeared, and it's unbelievable. Too big a talent to disappear. And catching balls from a Hall of Fame, I mean, it makes no sense why he's not playing at all anymore. Whatever.
Well, he's playing all the time. There's just like, it's not a good team. It's just not a good team.
So let's talk about Hollywood Brown and Colt McCoy, because Hollywood Brown is there because that pig-faced bastard quarterback has a fucking child, and he pitched a fit until he got his buddy from Oklahoma to Kyler Murray. And now Marquise Brown is going to catch balls from Colt McCoy. Maybe.
I'll give it a shot.
I mean, you give it a shot, obviously, but I don't love these matchups that Glenn. I mean, I like the players, but I don't like the recent trend for anybody, maybe except McLaurin. Although I think Dotson has kind of emerged as a red zone target, and what's his name, the old guy, is getting a lot more looks. Curtis Samuel's getting. I mean, maybe he's not that old, but I think of him as having been in the league for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, McLaurin is still the alpha there. I mean, there's no doubt
absolutely.
That. So,
yeah. But he's also,
I mean, whatever happens there is going to happen through McLaurin. The Giants just got spit roasted by the Eagles last week. I feel like Washington's actually not too bad. So
remarkably, it's a pretty good football team. Like, no, they're not bad. They're not bad. I just am used to considering them really bad, and they're not. Tight end.
Conklin.
I prefer Freiermuth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Conklin, since Zach Wilson was benched, has gotten a little more looks. But I mean, like, hey, look, these are 2 non-premium tight ends. Either one of them scores. It's a net positive. If nobody scores, I probably have a little bit of an edge, but it's a handful of points, no more than that. It's not like the probability of either one of these tight ends putting more than 15 points on the board is not great.
Agreed.
So it's kind of is what it is in my book.
All right. Defenses. Well, star power.
Defense. I might have a change too. I don't know if I'm going to go with 2 defensive backs.
Yeah.
I might have Frankie Louvu in there. Actually, I probably will.
Right.
And then it's just going to be a decision between Julian Love and Petrie, which, I mean, they've both been so good.
Yeah. Yeah, Petrie just sort of been all over the field for Texans.
Had a monster game last week, obviously. Right. So,
I mean, given the match tonight, I don't hate Drake Greenlaw having a big day. So yeah, I mean, I think these are pretty evenly. They have similar kind of high floor, high ceiling guys on both of these defenses. And the way defensive scoring works, you never know which guy's going to post the 20 plus point game, but I think almost everybody you guys trot out has that potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think, more or less call it a wash. You don't get to this point usually without having good, solid defense week in, week out. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be again. I think it's going to be relatively close. But
yeah,
I have guys. I have Tua going Saturday night, McCaffrey going tonight, Davis going Saturday night. Who are the other Saturday games, Mike? Do you remember?
I don't, but I'm sure I could find out if you wanted me to. Let's have a look-see. We've got the Colts Vikings. Yeah, no, Colts Vikings are the 1 o'clock. Ravens Browns are the 4:30, and Billy Goats and the Finns are the evening game on Saturday. So we'll get. I mean,
there's going to be a lot of points on the board at the end of Saturday night for both teams.
Yeah, I think that's right. So it'll be kind of interesting because we're going to know where you stand because a lot of your big hitters are going to have already played by Saturday night. But Glenn will have, shit or get off the pot with a couple of his players by then too, and we'll see what things look like going into Sunday. The Monday game this week, just to see if there's any potential that it is exciting, and we sit around.
Green Bay game. So
the Rams and Green Bay. So actually, that makes it real interesting for the Wallace game. The other playoff.
Oh yeah, because Andrew's running backs are going to be going.
Andrew's going to have all the running backs going, and so we'll know. Here, let's look at what else is going on in that game real quick from the Rams perspective. And so Green Bay. That might be it. Is that right? I don't see any Rams on either roster.
No, there's no startable Rams out there.
Right, and so Andrew is going to have 3 players going. So if Andrew's ahead going at the end of the night on Sunday, then this matchup is over. Presumably, Andrew Joe is going to be white knuckling Monday night to see if he can hold off the 3 players that Andrew trots out for Monday Night Football.
That's what it's.
So that game's going to be fun. We'll take
Glenn's
that one down to the wire.
Make his finish line at the end of Sunday Night Football, and he'll be looking to dodge. He'll have McLaurin going on Sunday night, and he will be looking to dodge Alan Lazard
trade. So less action down the stretch, but by the Sunday night game, we'll have a good idea of where your matchup is headed to, as far as how much Glenn needs out of Scary Terry and what you'd need to offset with Alan Lazard.
Let's be honest. By the time most guys watch this, we're going to have a good idea on my matchup. If McCaffrey doesn't, I need those 25 points from McCaffrey. If he's below 20, then I'm going to be leaning on dudes like Gabriel Davis to score more than 10 points, which I start getting into a very risky calculus if McCaffrey doesn't have a good game tonight. So
well, and Sunday afternoon, real NFL implications around the Titans-Chargers game are no joke. I think that is going to be the Austin Eckler against Derrick Henry show. Although then if those guys offset each other to an extent, then you fall back to Herbert versus Tannehill, and I think that hopefully the Bolts bury the Titans. But anyway,
what's your pick here in the between me and Glenn? Where are you coming
in this game?
Yeah,
it is a tough one. Man, I don't know. You've been on such a heater of late, but I'm actually gonna. This isn't to needle you. I'm gonna take Glenn in this one, and again, this is kind of a sum of the parts type of thing. As I look across that lineup, I see a little bit more kind of, a longer list of guys who could go off. Not that but if McCaffrey and Eckler cancel each other out, then I like Glenn's remaining, dry powder better than yours by a little bit. But that's not to say that any of the you have more boom or bust guys. If all of them boom, he's screwed. He's shit out of luck. But if you get his 2 points from Drake London and 3 points from Dante or Dropsy Johnson, you're gonna have a tough time offsetting all of Glenn's guys. So I'm gonna go with Glenn. But I think I think we've got two really compelling games up at the top of the in the playoff bracket. And the jerk off bracket, I mean, we're not even going to cover those games because they're just terrible matchups.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, in the last 4 weeks, head to head against Glenn, I would have gone 3-1, 3-0 in the last 3 weeks. Can I keep the heater going? I hope. I'll pick myself, obviously, but I won't be surprised at either result, honestly. I mean, I think they're, like you said, two relatively even matched teams. And, you get a couple you get a blowout or two from one guy, and that's going to change the entire tone of the game, one way or the other. McCaffrey scores 8 points tonight. It's probably curtains for me. But if he scores 38, that puts me in a really good spot. So anyway, that's it. That's what we got. Again, don't forget weekly money each week through the playoffs, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, all the way. No, sure. I mean all the way through the end of and we have budgeted for weekly payouts all the way through the end of the regular season. So even after our championship game is over, week 18 this year, I think it will be still setting lineups free for.
But also all you guys on bye, you 4 teams on bye, make sure you guys set lineups. That's Danny right. And Craig, just in case.
You never know. Wouldn't that be a kick in the pants for those guys if they went off and won like 4th place money and then go back to scoring 110 points again next week? What I really actually like, I kind of hope we win this week because I think it would set up a pillow fight of the week rematch. Right, of I think the 2 worst rosters in the league, in our roster versus Danny's in week 16, and I think it's possible that the losing team might not hit triple digits in that matchup. I think it's entirely possible.
It's possible. I mean, Mike, you guys had the worst score in the league last week. I mean, but let's see, you've beaten Goldberg now in the last 4 weeks. You're 1-3. Against Goldberg. So
we've got nothing left. The guys that we acquired, we were like, maybe they'll come around late in the season. They're all like
Jameson Williams.
Yes.
Love those Jameson Williams shares.
Yes, that'll be a real kick in the balls for Goldberg if he finally eats into Amon-Ra St. Brown's 4,000 targets a game, but I just don't see it happening. Maybe not. If it hasn't happened yet, but anyway, there's no reason it happened this week.
We're good.
Anyway, all right, and we don't want to talk about free agency and that nonsense because it really wasn't that exciting this week, except Bussin and I radically overpaid for our boy Brock. I feel like the one notable thing that we have to say, and we can talk about it next week, is Gabe's quarterback situation with Kyler Murray going out for the season is going to be fascinating going forward because he has Matt Ryan, Mike White, Russell Wilson, and somebody else. And he's just going to have to, he's going to have to stream matchups.
But again, his team is good enough to survive that, most likely. And the reemergence of J.K. Dobbins, I think, is a good thing. So anyway, that'll be a conversation for next week when Derek rejoins us. Feel better, Big Cat. Mike, anything?
No, not much. I will say that, we can recap a couple other, what does it all mean type of things over the next 2 weeks, including a little rundown on how we've all done with the free agent budgets this year and stuff like that, comparing that to years past, because that has implications for you guys who are playing for championship money. And
that's a good point.
I'll see if I can't go in and, I don't know, sometime before we collect league dues next year, I'll update the accounting. For everybody's weekly money. Not that it really matters where everybody stands as far as how much they've won or lost so far this year, but I think you can predict which teams are already in the black. And it's not all of our teams at the very bottom of the table. So, but yeah, hey man, good luck this week. I think we've got some really good matchups. 2 really good ones, 2 really bad ones, and we'll see what happens this week and get into the heart of the championship race next week.
Survive and advance is the phrase of the week. Good luck to everyone except for you.
3 times. 3 times. Let's go.
Fuck you, Glenn.
Yeah. I'll echo that just for fun since it beat me. All right. Bye, boys.